Hey everybody, welcome back to Family by Design. If this is your first time by chance listening, really glad you've joined us for today's episode, and we're going to be talking about knowing the state of your money. And so just a prequel here, Liz and I are not financial advisors, but we financially have been able to increase with a few of the things that we're going to share with you today is really going to help you. Hey, do us a favor. Go on and give us on your podcast platform that you're listening to this on. Go on and give us a 5-star rating, and then also write us a glowing review. This will help bring our podcast up on the marker as far as when people see podcasts, when they type in anything like family or marriage or anything along those lines. This will help them be able to see our podcast, which we really believe is God-inspired and is absolutely helping people every single week, just like you, get a hold of some truths that are making their marriage and their family more intentional by design. And we're seeing people that are prospering in their life because of this. So bless you. And we just encourage you, listen, if you've not become a partner with Ward Ministries, pray about becoming a partner with us. We need more partners. We have a lot of things that we're doing, a lot of things that we want to do. And we just believe that God has called people to partner with us and what it is that we're doing to bring the gospel around the world. Hallelujah. So pray about that. And you all can always go to our website, www.wardmin, that's M-I-N, wardmin.org, to find out more info. All right, so this is going to be super practical and just throw out some things that I think are going to help people be able to navigate just very practically handling their finances. So this is something that we were not involved in, even though we had money, we were not involved in. Then you did. I think I probably did it at some point and maybe early on, and then you handled it for a long time. And it wasn't really your forte. It's not really either one of our fortes, honestly. Some people, they have the spouse in the marriage is just excellent at doing budget. That was not either one of us.
Correct.
So
we're becoming excellent.
We are becoming excellent. And so here we are in 2023, the beginning of this year, we became the most intentionally diligent about handling money. And so we know where every dime, penny might be extreme, but every dime, not really every penny. We know where every single penny of our money is going. We know why it's going there, and we set out on a course. Because what happened is that the year before, we were like, whoa, what do we have to dip into our savings? And we realized we just were not being very
We had a budget,
stringent.
But we weren't staying within our budget. It wasn't that we were necessarily frivolously spending money.
We just weren't being real
We weren't being intentional.
Right.
Let's just be honest. We weren't being super diligent.
And there's a lot of things that we
through.
were doing just in our daily routine that was costing us, stopping by, the gas station and getting something to drink, or just, hey, I'll buy that or whatever. And it was so, we had to tighten up and really take charge of our money. And we found, I'm not going to go into how many, but we found multiple thousands of dollars that were like, wow, we have to not spend that this year. And we're not living at any lower level than we were from the previous year. We're just being more conscious of it.
That's right.
So what we did was basically, first of all, we got honest, because I'm like, when you went and added up what we spent last year, I was like, whoa, that's too much money, right? And we both agreed, and we're like, okay, well, we're not really going to make any more money. So, not that we could see. We believe the hand of the Lord's on us, all that stuff, and He's blessing us. But you can only budget from your previous year. You can't budget what you think you're going to make. You can't do that. When you set a budget, you take your previous year's income. Now, if you know your income is going to go up because you get a raise from your boss or something, then yeah, you can budget off that. But basically, especially if you're like self-employed, then you have to go off your previous year's budget, and you have to figure out how to live within that. So then you have to figure out where you're going to put your money, and you have to put your priorities at the very top. And then as you have money available, you make a decision where that money is going to go. And so and sometimes things are difficult, like when it comes to like the electric bill. Food bill is a huge thing. It's actually our single biggest expense that we have, even more than our rent.
It is.
Because we have 4 boys.
And we
it just costs a lot.
And they're home a lot. And we also do a lot of meals for, like, we are very hospitable.
Right. So it's our single biggest expense. And so there's things that fluctuate. Well, we just decided recently that there was something else, just throwing this out there, there's something else that we buy every month. It's a health food thing. And I decided, like, I have to quit buying that because we need more money in our food budget. So you can't just go and just spend money, just set a budget and be like, we're buying all this stuff. If it's not working, you have to figure out a way to adjust. Another thing we did is that I was driving another car that unfortunately we don't have paid off, but we will have paid off soon. And that car was costing us more. And basically what I did is I went, and it was a higher value car, but I went and sold it and then bought a cheaper car with not hardly any more miles on it. Our payment was cheaper and I owe less on it. And I'm like, whatever, we're going from point A to point B. I really don't care.
Right.
It's a minivan, but anyway, so there's things like we did that because we were looking like, how can we pull back and spend less money? So the very first thing you need to do when you're setting a budget is you need to know where your money is going. And
be honest.
You have to be honest, but then you have to say where do we want to give? And our value system as far as how we handle our money is give to God first.
That's right.
Give to ourselves, meaning we save, and then we give to others. And so I heard that years ago, and that's really helped me. And so what we do is we give to God first, and then we put saving at a high priority. We not only tithe, but we give above and beyond that, and are believing God to increase the money that is being put into the kingdom. So every time we have an increase in money, we give bigger percentage away, basically, is
Correct.
what we do. And so we do those things. So we give to God, we give to ourselves, and we give to others. And somewhere between giving to ourselves, saving, and giving to others, we also invest in there. Mm-hmm. And so we look to make our money that we're taking and investing for that to grow. That's basically how we look at it. And then when you get into your actual like monthly or annual expenses, we had to go through, and it was rigorous. We went through and made a very detailed report of every single thing that we needed, and then some things that we wanted, and then we spread that money out over over a month, or really over 12 months, and we're able to hold back money for things that, like a family vacation, we put X number of dollars towards that every month, and then once with that time comes, we'll have that money for that. And so it's being very, very intentional to know the state of your finances. You have to know first. If you don't know, then you're in darkness about your money. Right. And God works in the light. He doesn't work in darkness. So you have to be willing to be honest about where you're at with your money.
Right. And we've seen so much clarity come, because a lot of times people don't want to. Here's a couple things that you said that are so important, is that we became the rulers of our money instead of allowing money things to rule us, which is always supposed to be the case. We're not supposed to let money things dictate to us what we're going to do. We're supposed to be the ones who are allocating, who are dictating to the money where to go. That is proper stewardship. That is wise. That's wisdom. That is how people go from having nothing to a lot of stuff. Because what you're doing, and I think this is so important and so vital, people oftentimes of looking at what they are losing or giving up instead of looking at the opportunity they are creating. Because when you are becoming the ruler or the allocator of your finances, then you now are creating opportunity, because you are seeing very clearly where you want to go and what becomes possibilities. Because there could be a gift that comes, and because you don't have to use it to live your life, you can choose to invest it. You can choose to do something that you're, trusting, believing God to have extra of or whatever. But you become a very powerful person in this position. And this is where you see people advancing and moving forward, is because they're no longer allowing money to rule them. They are ruling money. And this is how people go from nothing, from nobodies
Yep.
to somebodies.
Yeah, that's right.
You change because what you're doing, you're creating a new belief system, and you're creating a new posture, and you're repositioning yourself to, this is how people build wealth and become wealthy.
That's right.
Is because, and this is why, like I've read several books, and this is what I know to be true. You can take everything away from a millionaire, and they'll be able to attain it again in their lifetime, because they have the principles and the understanding within them.
The opposite is true. You could take someone who thinks very poorly, you can give them $1 million, and
they'll be poor again.
They'll be poor again.
This is why you see, like, there's even a television show where, like, a bankrupt what are
the
lottery
winners ruined me and stuff like that. Yeah,
because you give somebody money and they have no idea what to do with it. All they know, they have a consumption mindset, a consuming mindset, and we need to reposition ourselves to not be consumers but be creators. To be able to take the things that we have, we cannot afford to say, I don't have enough, or I never will be. We live in the greatest time. We have the greatest opportunity. And when you take those limiting beliefs off you, you will begin to soar. I mean, it's incredible.
Right.
And even in these moments right now where we're getting more serious, it feels a little confining because we've created very clear boundaries. But to me, when there's clear boundaries, it actually is more freeing.
It is and because you have to have a base to work with. And so people that are like, I'm waiting for my check to come in the mail and they don't have any money to go and invest. Like, a lot of times the check in the mail is an opportunity, like, to buy something or invest. And they're just like, and an opportunity comes up and they don't have anything to offer.
Right.
It's because they didn't have a base there to be able to have room to do that. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. And we've been there before. Yeah, we're not being critical.
So grace.
We're not speaking. There's tons of grace. God will provide for you, but it's not the way to live. We should live from a full barrel and not an empty barrel. We should have enough that whenever we have an opportunity to invest, there should be money there. Now, you may not have $1 million, but you don't need $1 million to start investing. You need $1,000 or $10,000 or something there. You can go, that's a great opportunity. I want to put something into that. And there's tons of different kind of investments, real estate. We're getting ready to invest in a software thing. We've invested in cryptocurrency, which is meh. You can invest in the stock market. There's lots of different things you can invest into. But you have to have money to do that. Well, if you don't know where your money's going, you can't allocate money for that. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. You should have enough money in your savings that if an investment opportunity comes up, and I mean, I know of investment opportunities where there could be for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, I don't have that kind, but I don't have that kind of money, but I have some. So you may not have as much as you want, but you should have something there that you can make an investment. Also, if your transmission goes out in your car, your engine goes out in your car, your hot water heater goes out, you should not. And I'm just going to say this, and I'm speaking to people that are in America. If your engine goes out in your car, let me give you a standard. I'm not trying to conform you to my standards, but let me just say that you should not be at a place in your life to where you can't go and pay for a new engine in your car. I'm just being honest.
Pin drop.
And so have we been to a place to where we didn't have money for it? Yeah. But we recognize that that's not a right place to be. You should have enough money in reserve that you can pay for things that come up. So that's what we call an emergency fund. Mm-hmm. And so most financial experts will say you should have 3 to 6 months worth of living costs in your emergency fund. So in other words, if it costs you $2,000 a month to live, you should have a minimum of $6,000 in savings to pay for things.
Right.
So that might sound like a stretch for some people. For other people, they're like, yeah, I've got 10 times that. So it just depends on where you're at. But you have to have money set back. Well, how do you set money back? Because a lot of people are like, well, I just can't get ahead. Well, first of all, get rid of your victim mentality. You can get ahead. You are the ruler over your life, not mammon. You are the ruler over your life, not the government. Stop depending on the government. Stop depending on your boss. Stop depending on what you don't know. Educate yourself, grow up, take hold of your finances, and determine your own destiny financially.
That's right.
You do not have to be at a place in your life to where you can't afford to do things that are absolute necessities. So people, and of course we see this in ministry all the time, people are like, well, I don't have enough money for my electric bill. No, we help people all the time. Like we've got tons of grace, tons of mercy. But and we've been in those places before too. But we also were willing to recognize this is not right, and it's nobody else's fault that we're here beside our own.
That's right.
It's because we didn't know the state of our finances. We talked about one podcast about knowing the state of your flock. This is part of that.
Right.
Know what's happening with your money. Know where your money is being spent. Know how much is being saved. Know about giving. So all of that. So we basically live on a 70, 10, 10, 10. Now, we don't always hit this. We've had to make adjustments, but in our mind, this is our philosophy. Yeah, but you have 100% of money coming in.
Right.
Whether it's $500 a week or $5,000 a week or $20,000 a year or $100,000 a year, you have 100% of the money that you have.
Right.
What are you going to do with that money? And so you have to sit down and say, first of all, what do I absolutely have to have? And if you can get to where you don't, like what you have to have doesn't supersede 70%, that's probably a pretty good way to look at it. That's how we look at it. And so what we do is when we have $1,000 come in, say, the very first thing we do is we take $100 and it goes directly to the church. We believe in giving and tithing into our local church, which we just so happen to pastor, but we believe in that. 10% goes there. 10% goes into, now we give more than that, but
which comes actually out of our 70%.
It does come out of our 70%.
Yes.
The more giving that we do comes out of our 70%.
That's right.
Yes. But so what we do is we give 10% to the Lord. We tithe. Then we take 10% and we save. It's not investment. We just save. It just goes into savings. We just save it. It goes into the bank account. We actually have a bank account that's not tied to our other accounts, that's not easily accessible. And it's 40 miles away. And we can't just get that money. We have to go there and get it. So it's like it's there, but it's not as accessible. That's been good for us.
It has been,
and it automatically comes out of our bank account into that bank account. Okay. And so we give, then we save, and then we have 10% that we invest. Sometimes that sits in savings until we have opportunities. Sometimes it just goes directly into investment stuff. Sometimes it's split between things.
That's right.
And then we have 70% that we live off of. And if you can live off of 70% of your money, and you can do that 10, 10, 10, 70, you will prosper in your life.
That's right. And you've created a system now.
That's right.
Without systems, we fail.
Absolutely.
Because it becomes too hard and our brains can't navigate it and we're messy in our thinking. There's not clarity. So what systems do is they create clarity. And so then systems have to be worked. So there is a process while you are learning and growing and going forward that you are going to have to put in effort and time into working your system.
Listen, we created a system with budgeting where we go every time, and especially when we're together, like we were driving the other day and we stopped at whatever, a gas station or restaurant or something and made a purchase, and I handed you the receipt and I said, please put that into our budget. And we have it set up to where if we have, like, let's say, like, for example, our eating out budget monthly for our whole family is $200 a month, that we can go through that.
And one time.
No problem. Yeah. And depending on where you eat, it can go pretty quick. And so what we'll do is we have it set up to in our, we use a spreadsheet, which is very old school, but it's working for us. And
there's tons of apps that make it so
you can
easy.
find something, right? So we'll take that receipt and we'll go punch it in. and we have formulas set up in there, just getting real practical formulas set up in there. If we spent $50 eating at Applebee's or whatever, we'll put in $50 and it automatically goes in and changes our remaining balance for that month from $200 to $150 we now have left in our eating out budget. And so we keep track of every single dollar that we spend so that we know what we have available, and we make sure if we're maxing out on our budget, we make adjustments in particular areas. We make adjustments, and we're just like, you know what, that's going to have to wait for another month because we don't have money in that area in this month anymore. And we have to wait and push that off.
And it's actually making us become more creative.
Yes.
Like, how can I do this differently? How can I work better at this? How can I make what I have allocated here stretch? And it's making us ask the question, how do I steward even better what it is? This is what I'm saying I have right now in my hand. How can I, it makes you put so much value on what it is that you have, that you want to steward it to the best of your ability. So it makes you be a better person. And why we had to decide to even just go old school spreadsheet is because we needed to work a system. It wasn't going to be enough for us to have an app where you can link your bank accounts and all of your spending accounts and everything, where it will automatically do it for you. Because if you don't have the system to, in your mind, what we're doing is creating a pathway where we are being intentionally at looking and making sure we're stewarding well, but that we're working our system. That's what it's actually forcing us to do. And so that's why it's so valuable to do that. And we're learning to become actually are better at creating instead of consuming.
That's right.
We're learning to say, this is what I have. Not only bless it, Lord, but how can I take this and use it so well? And these are the things that are making me come alive on the inside, because we were intended and always have been intended to be creators. And this is where you get innovative thinking and you get thoughts and ideas that can move you forward, because you're seeing things so clearly. And not only seeing things so clearly, you're seeing them so differently, and you're not being bound by something you don't want to be bound by. You've
created your own boundaries.
That's right. And creating your own boundaries is powerful.
Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to stop right here, and we're going to go in, and we're going to have a next time we'll have another podcast, and we're going to talk about creating some boundaries. But then also, we're going to talk about stewardship and how important that is to this whole thing, the heart of a steward. And extremely important in a home. And if it's not there and you're wanting an increase, you're probably not going to get the increase you want because you're not stewarding well. We're going to talk about that next time.
Thank you for listening in on this conversation. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. Share it with your friends and on your socials. For more information about Ward Ministries, check out wardmen.org. If this podcast is encouraging you on your marriage and family, we want to hear about it. Email us at info@wardmen.org, and make sure you keep your eye out weekly for the latest podcast on marriage and family.